So it's been about a week since HoneyBear Cookie has released, and I believe I've had enough time to collect my thoughts. He's a very interesting and adorable and necessary addition to the roster of cookies. Earth was lacking a proper support for a very long time, but now they finally have that with HoneyBear. Rest in peace, Wind. Anyways, let's not delay this any longer and let's get right into it. As always, we are starting with the kit overview. His basic attack is a simple 3-hit basic attack, but this damage actually scales with defense, making HoneyBear Cookie officially our first defense scaling cookie. He also has a charge up attack that will make him spin in a circle and deal damage to enemies twice. His special skill will launch out 3 waves of honey that will deal damage to enemies when they hit. This also scales with defense. Now you probably noticed that also gives HoneyBear Cookie a shield, and that's due to his passive, which makes it so that way whenever allies are hit with his special skill or his ultimate, they will gain a shield that also scales with defense for a couple seconds. Speaking of your ultimate will release a giant wave of honey that affects enemies with the sticky honey effect. Now the ultimate itself doesn't actually do anything besides apply the sticky honey effect and give allies a shield, but the sticky honey effect that is put on enemies, after it's hit a couple of times, it will be activated, doing damage and reducing all of their elemental resistances, making HoneyBear Cookie a very good elemental resistance shredder. Now that's all for his base kit, so let's look at his promotions real quick. His 2-step promotion simply makes it that way whenever sticky honey is activated into the overload effect, it will also reduce earth resistance by 8%, making him even stronger for earth cookies. His 4-step promotion will increase the damage of a special skill by 20% and also reduces its cooldown by 2 seconds. Now your 5-step promotion actually does a couple of things. First of all, it increases the amount of shield given by 30%, and allies that are shielded also have 10% damage reduction, and whenever you are shielded, your damage is increased by plus 10% of your own defense. Why did I say defense like that? In short, HoneyBear Cookie is the shielding version of Blackberry, except he does do better than her in like non-mono element teams, as the amount of all elemental red shred he provides is actually more than Blackberry. So Blackberry power creep, yay. Or not, I don't know. Also, luckily, it seems like you really only need his first promotion for him to actually be useful, because while the other ones are good quality of lives, it doesn't actually affect his status as a debuffer, meaning they technically aren't necessary. I don't know how much damage he contributes anyway to make it worth pulling for his 5th promotion, because Peach does contribute quite a lot, but I don't actually know how much HoneyBear contributes. Either way, pretty solid support cookie. But let's move on to his artifacts. Like always, HoneyBear Cookie's best artifact is actually his own artifact, the Secret of Sweet Sleep. This is the first defense main set artifact that is epic, which is very cool. What the artifact actually does is that whenever you, or I guess the wearer, gives ally shields, you also increase their elemental damage based on your own defense. I believe this is the first artifact we actually have that scales off of anything, so that's kind of cool. But it also does mean you do need to build a lot of defense to get value out of this. Now, it does have a cap of the elemental damage you can give, but that's okay because when you're full build, you should be able to reach that and not really go over it. At max, you can grant up to 36% extra elemental damage, which is quite a lot. Now, the fact it gives elemental damage is a little weird considering Frostrock, which is, the new Earth DPS, already gets elemental damage in his own artifact. So I'm just kind of like wondering what's going on there? But ultimately it performs well, so I can't really complain. If you are planning on using HoneyBear a lot, I would 100% suggest getting this artifact because it's just good. It works perfectly with him. Being the first defense scaling cookie, this is really his only option for a defense artifact. Not to mention, you get buffs based on your defense with this artifact, so it's a perfect synergy, like I've already said. Now, if you aren't super rich and you can't really afford to pull for a new artifact, then Lemon Cookie's Leisurely Afternoon is your second best bet. Now, while you don't benefit from the main set of the artifact, at all, you can use the other part of the artifact very easily, which just makes it that way whenever you're shielded, your allies get extra crit damage. And considering you have very beefy shields with high uptime, or I guess it's technically 100% uptime if you don't get hit, it makes this pretty much perfect synergy. Besides the whole it gives attack thing. Now, if we get into the technicality of it, this artifact is situational depending on who the DPS is. While I am not some all-knowing genius that can tell you which is perfect for every single DPS cookie, a good rule of thumb is that if the cookie generally prefers elemental damage from their supports, then his own artifact is better, but for cookies like Lemon Zest, you probably want to run crit damage if they benefit from crit damage from their own supports. Obviously, it's not as simple as that, but you know. But if we look at it from a stance purely of supporting Earth type cookies, his own artifact will pretty much always be better because crit damage is useless for Sting Durian, and his own artifact just provides more damage for Frostrock than Lemons. Now, if neither of those work for you, you can use Blackberry's Midnight Waltz. This artifact is simply worse leisurely afternoon for Honeybear Cookie, but you know, it's still alright. While you won't have a lot of uptime on it, you will have some uptime on it. But generally, I would highly suggest at least having Leisurely Afternoon or Honeybear's own artifact because you really don't have any other greater options. While it is technically usable, it's far from optimal, and by far from optimal, I mean far. Now, besides those three, there are a couple other artifacts that are kind of usable. First of all, for Infinite Labyrinth only, you have Rockstar Cookie's Encore Performance. Because Honeybear Cookie is an assist cookie, he can be a holder of Encore Performance for Infinite Labyrinth, aka the ultimate anti-fun artifact. Yay! Jokes aside, this artifact has a really powerful buff in solo player modes that gives you a ton of attack, which you just don't want to give up for a mode like that. Granted, outside of Infinite Labyrinth, this is definitely not worth using at all. Now, another usable artifact is going to be Warm Up, which is Muscle Cookie's artifact. Now, this artifact is okay. It's mostly just a shield buffing artifact as it increases your shield strength and increases your defense while you are shielded. Meaning, you do actually get increased defense. Yay! But this is like a last resort. Now, there's also the two common artifacts that have a defense main stat, but no. Moving on to weapons, like always, your best weapon is going to be your unique Sweet Honey Dipper. Because this is Honeybear's unique, it gives defense as its main stat, and for its Tower Climber bonus, it gives debuff amplification. Meaning this is an absolute necessity as it will make him so much more powerful. Not only that, it also gives 2 hidden power slots, which is always good. Before we move on, I just want to say that if you have enjoyed or found the video helpful so far, a like and subscribe would be super appreciated. My current goal is to hit 5,000 subscribers before June, and we are kind of close. Only 21% of the people that watch my videos are subscribed, and if all of you subscribe, we can 100% make it. It takes a second out of your day and it costs nothing, so just consider. Okay, back to the video. Moving on to equipment sets, he actually has a couple viable equipment sets, but there are 2 that stand out more than the other. Starting off, we have Falling Stars Regalia. This set does provide debuff amplification on both the set bonus and the headpiece, but that's not the only reason why we are using that. The other part of the set bonus makes it so that way after you use your ultimate, enemies will lose 10% of their elemental resistance matching your element for 15 seconds. And that is kind of insane. Currently, this is the set used on Honeybear Cookie for champion raids because they have Sting Durian on Ghost, and obviously Frostrock is the main DPS with Candy Drop on Golden Finery for the extra tag damage. Essentially meaning Honeybear needs to be the one to hold it. Not to mention, because he's a debuffer, he gets benefits from the debuff amplification because that's just what you want to build on him. You might be asking yourself, well, but what if my Blackberry has it? To be quite honest, you could probably just slap it on him, but because Honeybear Cookie actually needs defense in order for his artifact to work, this might not be an option for you. And if it's not an option for you, you have the Snow Strider set. Snow Striders is actually quite a neglected set meta-wise, but Honeybear does actually give it a little bit of viability. The set provides shield strength, so it's not debuff amplification, meaning it's a little bit worse on the debuffing side of things, but it does protect your team more. But the second part of the set is actually pretty good, and it makes it that way when you are shielded, you reduce enemies' nearby elemental resistance matching your element, and increasing your teammates' elemental damage matching your element. The resistance shred is only 5%, so it is worse than Falling Stars, but the elemental damage buff is 10%, so it's pretty good. But unfortunately, the shield strength is kind of useless, so it's not as strong as Falling Star is, but it's not a bad secondary option. In fact, this is what I currently run because I just don't have a second Falling Star set for him. Now, the final set that I think I can recommend is the Ghost Captain set. While you probably won't use this often, especially in raids because Sting Durian already holds the set better, it is quite usable. The headpiece does give debuff amplification, which is very good, and the set makes it so if you use your special skill, nearby enemies will have their defense reduced by 20%, which is very good. Unfortunately, the set bonus also gives attack, which is useless on you. It's overall a very good support set. There really isn't much to say besides the defense reduction is very, very needed, but other cookies can already do it better than him, so it's not really that worth using unless it's your only option. Now, unfortunately, because Honeybear Cookie scales defense, there is quite literally no other sets that he can go. Like, I would recommend the Earth set, but that gives the Earth attack, and Honeybear doesn't scale with attack, so it's useless on him. So for now, these will be your 3 viable sets. Now, if you're still on Epic equipment, here are the Epic equipments for Honeybear Cookie. cookie. For the headwear, you have the marshmallow hat and the pathfinder hat. For the bodywear, you have the golden cape. And finally, for the legwear, you do have the starlight skirt and the jelly pants. Now, luckily, Honeybear Cookie has very simple hidden powers that you will run no matter what. It is simply 4 defense and 4 debuff amplification. If you roll some shield strength, it's not the end of the world, but you want to maximize your defense and debuff amplification to maximize your buffs on your artifact and your debuffs from your ultimate. Like I said, you will run these no matter what. It does not matter the set, does not matter the artifact, you run these. So where is Honeybear going to be viable, and who is he going to be viable with? Well, starting off with the where, because he is an all elemental resistant shredder, he's pretty much viable everywhere. His kit isn't actually all that restrictive, and while he does perform better with earth type cookies, he can be used for everyone just like Blackberry. Rage, champion raids, extreme boss challenge, you name it, he can be used as a debuffer. He can even find some usage in Infinite Labyrinth, especially with his ult. While I don't think he's used this current week, I know he has been used in the week before this, so, you know, it's there. Now, as I already said, he is going to perform best with earth cookies, but he does work as a universal elemental resistance debuffer. So if your team needs a support and you don't have the elemental support for that element yet, then you can just slot Honeybear in and he'll work. There isn't much more to say besides he's adorable. Like other support cookies, there really is not much to say for tips and tricks. Just make sure that when you are shooting out your special skill and your ultimate, make sure that you are able to hit your teammates as well, so that way they can get the shield for your artifact buff. And also keep in mind the cast times for these abilities, because they aren't instant, and especially the ultimate, if you do it right before the boss moves, your ultimate's gonna miss, and that's a huge damage loss. He probably also has some animation canceling going on with his basic attacks, but I don't know how worth it that is for him. But he does have pretty beefy basic attacks, so that's good at least. Anyways, that's it. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed, a like and subscribe would be very appreciated. Also, remember to go follow my Twitter and join my Discord server. Anyways, I'll see you all next time. Bye bye!